The sport of off-road racing is full of incredible stories, wild characters, legends, and even villains. We cover it all on offroadracer.com, but there's only so much we can put down in an article. Sometimes we have to dig a little deeper, and that means sitting down with some of our industry's most influential characters and hitting record. Welcome to the Off-Road Racer podcast, a Mad Media production, made exclusively for offroadracer.com. Each month, we'll go beyond the dirt into the homes, shops, and lives of the most interesting and game-changing icons of our sport. You'll hear about their history, success, failure, and everything in between as we pull back the curtain and reveal the stories of their lives. I'm your host, Matt Martelli, and this is the Off-Road Racer podcast. I'm Matt Martelli. This is the Off-Road Racer podcast, and I'm here with Conner McMullen. What's up, man? How you doing?
Good. Just out here at Vegas Torino, ready to get everything cooped up and ready to go and go out and win tomorrow.
Yeah, we were just talking earlier. You guys had a little drama at qualifying, and that you DNF'd at qualifying, so that puts you at a rear start. Like, do you like starting up front, or do you like starting in the back?
So we've done both. We've started up front and we started in the back. Starting in the back hasn't been the best strategy for us yet, but you never know what can happen. Obviously you want to qualify good and you want to be up front, but at the same time, it's this race is so long. You got so many miles to cover that anything can happen, and as long as you have a smooth day, no issues, no flats, you're going to be there regardless.
And so you're not starting, you're taking the second half?
Yeah, so Kyle qualified, and then he'll start, and I'm sure we'll split halfway, which is probably at pit 8, and I'll get in and then do the last half.
Nice. Hey, what's that been like? I mean, Kyle's like one of those guys who is an extremely good racer, and very quiet guy, not on social media a lot, promoting himself.
Right.
But just a killer in the vehicle. Like, what's that been like for you to have him as your teammate?
Kyle, he's super easy to get along with. He really knows his stuff. He's super knowledgeable in the truck and how things work, and me and him work really, really good together. But like I said, he's an awesome off-road driver. I think he's one of the fastest guys out there, and me and him definitely share a lot alike with our views and how we think of stuff and the truck setup and just different variables of the truck. We see eye to eye on a lot of stuff, and we communicate, every other week on, update stuff on the truck. How do you think it works? How do I think it works? And we work really good together. So it's a pleasure to be able to race with him and, being able to team up with him. This will be the first time that I've teamed up with Kyle. Other than racing against him, but racing against him or teaming up with him, it's, we're friends, but on the track, it's go time. So it'll be cool. It'll be something different. And I think if we have a clean day, no issues, we got it for sure.
Do you think that comes from both you having similar backgrounds in that, you guys have to come from prepping your own vehicles and, turning all the bolts?
Yeah, so he's been doing all his own stuff for, I think, since pretty much he started. Him and his dad doing it together, and same with me. Me and my dad I've been around the shop since I was little, 5 years old. Started racing at 5, and we share the same kind of interest and wants and needs with stuff. And it's cool to be able to have someone who understands what you do and what you want and can work with each other like that. And like I said, we have a lot of the same ideas with stuff, so it's cool to be able to work with him and see eye to eye on a lot of stuff.
Now, you have a pretty decent, I don't want to say long because you're still pretty young, right?
Yeah.
But just a decent history in climbing up the ladder system in off-road racing. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so I remember starting, obviously when I was 5, I started in the Whiplash series, and I did that for a year or so, and then...
And what were you racing in that?
The trophy cart stuff. So we started in a trophy cart and kind of stepped our way up there, and then saw the core stuff going on, kind of viewed over it, and then Lucas took over all after core and started seeing that. We're like, man, we want to enter into that and start building this thing. Me on the side, I did football and racing, so I had both to juggle with. And I remember with racing, we'd get to the track, and get everything set up ready. And then we're like, all right, well, we have to go to a game. We'd go to the game and miss qualifying. So that, doing that whole stuff, I couldn't qualify, so I had to start in the back. So I think that taught me how to be a better driver. Doing those two and starting from the back, working your way up through that field helped me as a driver, and, made me realize, obviously I got to pick one, what I want to do. And my time and energy and focus was revolved around racing. When we got there, I didn't want to leave the racetrack. And so that's what we set on doing, and started the Lucas Oil stuff and started doing really good with that. Won a couple of championships in the junior kart, and then moved up to the modified kart division and started doing really good in that with, all the kids, with Christopher Polvorty, Brock Dickerson, Brock Hager, all those guys. So we've all grown up together in short course. And really that started my big career with short course, and really taught me the ins and out of how to be a better driver. And looking up towards the Rob McCachrans and those guys that race short course, watching what they did and trying to mimic that in my driving style, because that driving style wins you races, it keeps you safe, and it saves equipment, and it makes you win. So I followed that, that guided me and molded me who I am today. And when I was about 16, I aged out of the modified kart division and went into our 3-seat Class 1 car that my dad built a while ago, and started racing some of the Rocky Point races, and did 2 years of that, won championships both times in both years. Had a lot of fun, and I was hooked to it. As soon as I started desert racing, I'm like, man, I'm addicted. This is what I want to do. And I remember in 2018, we bought our first 10 car from Illumicraft, and that was just the start of bigger things happening, and really doing good, understanding the desert terrain instead of the short course terrain, but bringing that short course mindset and bringing it out to the desert. It opens a whole another can of worms that people just don't realize if you don't do it and don't have that kind of drive and experience that. It's just something, it teaches you something totally different in your driving style.
Yeah.
But doing that and doing the 10 car for, I think it was 3 years that we did it, won back-to-back championships in the Class 10 and Best in the Desert, did really, really phenomenal, had a lot of great people supporting me, sponsors. And when it kicked there, kind of proved ourselves there, and we're like, we want to move up. And the Class 1 was kind of our meal ticket, and that's what my dad's done, since he was younger till now. Class 1's been his thing forever. We're all buggy dorks, so that's what they call us, which I like it.
Right.
And so we bought our first Class 1 car from Illumicraft, so Class 10, Class 1 car, and started racing that the first year. And, just a basic car, lightweight, LS3 motor, just a 6200 spec Class 1, so it's not a full, big Class 1 car. But started racing that and did it for the first year, and we were keeping up with all the guys, all the trick trucks up top, and overall a race here and there, and no slouches, and it's brought us up to where we're at now. And so we went through the Class 1 for a couple years, did really good in that, met a lot of great people. And so then we started looking towards the truck thing and kind of going back and forth with that. And then that's when Brenthal had called me after the second year in our Class 1 car. They're like, hey, we're trying to find some drivers, and your name came up to us, and we would like you to come out to Barstow for the day, and we want you to come test with us and come see the trucks and, meet the guys, and we want to meet you and your dad, because obviously you guys do everything together.
Well, what did, let me ask you about that specifically, because what did that feel like getting the call from Brenthal? Because there's, let's be real, there's not a lot of guys who have rides, you know what I mean? Most people are paying, for their own vehicle, their own prep, everything. Right. What was that phone call like? What did that feel like?
It was breathtaking. To hear someone actually calling me to want to go drive their race trucks, that's the ultimate dream in off-road racing, is to drive for a company, or even being a spec truck or a trophy truck in general. And I was just blown away, and I was shocked that, I had got asked that. And granted, I keep myself humble. I love the sport. I'm in the industry. I work in it, and there's a lot of time and effort put into this stuff. And me knowing that, it's heartwarming. And I was just super excited, ecstatic. I can't believe we're doing this. I would have never thought that. And he's like, yeah, you work. My dad's like, you work hard, you dedicate your time, and you put the effort towards this stuff. This is the things that come to you. So got the call. Went out there for a couple hours of the day and got to ride in a couple trucks. Didn't drive, just got my feet wet, got to ride and kind of show me the the wheels around how things work and, understand the equipment and all that stuff. And shortly after that, the next year came and they're like, hey, we want to sign you for a year and we want you to come race a spec truck with us. And I was completely taken away, super excited, something totally new in my chapter book that I had, that this is the life goal. This is what you work so hard towards, is to be in a trick truck and off-road racing. I mean, that's the ultimate.
So Mitch, why is this bike so drippy?
It's our 23 race bike. We can start up front, work our way to the back. Bones can tell you about the suspension.
The rear shock is one of the most critical parts of the bike.
Pegs with the titanium mounts.
Kashima coating here.
Anti-gravity lightweight battery.
Young's modulus.
Horse and a half.
Works chassis lab.
More tie than a space shuttle.
Really? I might need that repeated.
This thing slaps.
Slaps.
Oh, you should have told me that earlier.
So,
Well, especially when it's one thing when it's like, a wealthy guy who wants a ringer, or
Right.
he wants a guy who will get his equipment from A to B without damaging it. Like, there are those opportunities, but when a builder calls you and says, hey, we want to put you in our car because, they know they're doing that because they know you're going to be successful. That's going to get them success and sell them vehicles, right?
Yeah.
And in the context of Brenthal, like, they have a lot of vehicles that they're fielding, but then they have you and Kevin, and it's like, you're the pros, right? You're the
Right.
guys that all these other racers come to hang out with
Right.
and race with and learn from.
Right.
Right. So how has that been since then?
It's been great. We've won back-to-back championships last year in Legacy and Best in the Desert in the spec truck. And we caught the hang of it super quick and kind of helped with the setup and did a bunch of different things. And we started being really successful really quick, and working with Kyle Jurgensen, who's been with them for a couple of years before I have.
Yeah.
And talking with the brothers and talking with the team. And the team is so driven in not only the program and what they do, but with me and Kyle, they're just like, man, it's so cool to have two hired drivers that are the best drivers in off-road and come out, and we're prepping these trucks and you guys are going out winning these races and promoting us as well. So it's a cool aspect all the way around for me, for the team, for the brothers, for all of them to see that, hey, our trucks that we're building, this is how they're performing and they're winning. And you can't ask for anything more than that. And all the support and the love that I've gotten from not only my team, but from the Brenthals themselves have been unbelievably great. They've treated me very, very well. And without them and them giving me this opportunity, there's no way I would be here right now. And
Right.
it's definitely, it's a story and a thing that I will never forget in my life as long as I'm racing.
Yeah, it's really cool. I think too, like, have you felt kind of the love from the industry and the culture in addition to that?
Hell yeah. It's in being in the business, from my dad's business that we do together. Now that I've gotten older, I've learned, dealing with customers and talking to people and learning business and doing that stuff. And, all the stuff that we do together, me and my dad, we provide a service out the racetrack. We try and get everything and know as much as we can know. And we want to help everybody. We want to get as many people as we can out at the racetrack to support off-road and come out and race and have fun.
Right.
And, not come out here and buy this expensive car and have all these issues and be like, yeah, this is just no fun. I can't figure it out. Things break all the time. I'm done. I quit. And I'm like, I want to try and curb that and have more people come out and us help. And I love going out to everybody. There's so many people we'll walk up to. They'll come to me, talk to me. They'll call me. Hey, I've had these issues. What do we do? I'm a people person, and I love working with the off-road community. The off-road community has treated me with the utmost respect, and I deliver that back as well. And everybody just works so good together. And it's fun. I enjoy it. And I just love taking in as much knowledge as I can know and helping other people. And they see that and they're like, man, this is awesome. And it keeps them in the sport. And that's what I want more than anything. I want as many people to keep them in the sport so that they don't go elsewhere. Because I think this sport is just the most unique, and it's definitely one of the best and the most fun. And it's awesome.
Well, I think too that, like, in this culture, like, when a guy like you who, you've come up in a very blue collar family, your family business is in the off-road industry, and when they see you're a young man, but I'm going to call you a kid. No insult. But when a kid like you makes that climb and has that success, I think our whole industry gets behind it. Right. They're like, hey, he's one of us, we need to support him. We need to help him. And it's kind of like, we're winning, right? It's like, when you see somebody make that climb successfully and then end up in, 6100 or trophy truck, right? Then you're kind of like, the whole culture is stoked and celebrating it, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's really cool. I'm really stoked that the Brenthal boys did that. I mean, they've hustled their asses off to get where they are, and they could have
100%.
they could put anybody in those trucks, right? But they're also very smart and methodical about why they chose you, why they chose Kyle, and how that plays into the sales of their vehicles, their rental programs, et cetera. And frankly, I wish more builders would do that as well.
And not just focused on the driving, how they drive and the performance of what they're doing, but their attitude and what they bring to the table, know, and that's a huge thing for me that I've been taught since I was little. You give respect, no matter what. And, when you are like that and, you care and, you don't have a chip on your shoulder and you're walking around like, I'm the fastest guy. That just gets you nowhere. And I like being that humble guy and to be able to help people and talk to people and, all the way around, just be a good person. And it just makes that ladder get that much longer and you can just climb so many more steps being like that. It just gets you further in life, and especially here. It's such a small community, and so many people see the littlest things in you. When you do one bad thing or mess up, it's like, maybe I got to second guess that thing. And that's one of the things that they told me is, hey, not only just because you're driving, but your attitude is awesome. You're a good kid, you care, you want to do good, you're competitive, you're a good kid. And hearing that, not just from my family or anybody else, but from other people, it definitely makes me smile, and it makes me happy to know, hey, I'm doing something right here. And that's how I'll continue to be, and that is me as a person. So
was there a moment so you make the jump into trucks, right? Which, you did really well in Class 1, but the truck field's deep.
Yeah.
Right?
Especially the spec truck field.
Exactly. Yeah. So was there a moment where you kind of got comfortable and were like, okay, I can do this, I can hang, because it again, the level of competition and, the fact that everybody has good equipment nowadays,
right.
And the knowledge base is out there. It's not like it was before where, there was a handful of guys that you needed on your team or you weren't going to be successful.
Right.
So was there a moment like that where you kind of got comfortable and were like, okay, I can hang with these guys?
Yeah, it took me about, I would say, at least half the season to just really get used to it and know how the truck is, because never being in a truck, never driving in a truck, I just don't know how it's going to handle. And I'm not going to jump into it and be like, I got this. I'm like, yeah, anything that comes your way is different, and you got to learn how to drive it and be smart with it and save equipment and build your way up there and not just rush into it. And taking the time to learn the truck, know it, taking half the year, but honestly, really grasping it pretty quick. I was shocked that it was definitely a huge stepping stone from the buggy world to the truck world, to completely different. When I tell everybody that, not even comparable. But learning that and taking the time and effort to put all the effort you can into that, it took a little bit, but getting the hang of it and being up with those guys and talking with the top guys, hey, what do you do? And, the driving style and, how to come into these corners and, just the different speeds and the stuff between a spec truck and a trophy truck and having more weight, more mass, and things just change. And, you don't know that unless you get with these guys that know what they're doing and telling them, hey, this is what you have to do, because I don't know everything, and you need to utilize your people to be able to help you succeed in whatever you're doing. And it's definitely helped me a lot in that.
Yeah, so about halfway through the season, and did you win that race, or where were you at?
So I remember the first race we did with Legacy. We were a little ways back dealing with a couple issues, and I came over a huge jump and stuffed the front end and just had a couple driver error issues more so. And, just getting used to it and understanding it. But I would say within maybe I remember we came into Parker and we had a brand new truck and we did really good in qualifying. And I think we ended up winning actually the first race, which was Parker. But, it kind of was just staggered a little bit in the beginning, doing really good top 3, winning a race here and kind of back and forth. And then started the 4th race, 5th race, we were winning this race and winning that race and doing better in qualifying, just getting faster and faster and faster the more time that went on. And it just really getting the hang of it quick. And I'm like, man, it's crazy how I'm progressing this quick and understanding it, because I just thought way different of it. But not getting over your head, not overthinking it, just being smooth, driving right, and taking time to learn this. You'll get there, but give it some time and it'll all come to you.
Yeah, I think it's really hard for most people to be that patient, right? Like,
yeah.
You want to go, hey, cool, I got the truck, I got the ride, now I'm going to go hang with all the...
Get the jitters and you start going crazy, yeah.
Or you're going to go hang with all the big guys or, what have you. I mean, it's just, having driven both types of vehicles, they're massively different.
Yeah, huge.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So getting used to a spec truck but then also the top speeds that you have to drive in order to, be on the podium in that class. I mean, you have to... This is a driver's class. It's not like trophy truck where you can have, because
Class 10 and spec truck have the most similar driving style too. On the edge, basically on the edge of crashing every single corner. That's how hard nowadays with the pace, you have to push that hard or you're not going to win. But being smooth and not overdoing it, but it's a lot of the same driving style. And I think Class 10 taught me and grooved me into that kind of driver, and that just helped me in spec truck, because I knew, hey, I have to have this limit, I have to push this hard, and it's go time, and it's throttle to the metal and let it all hang out. So.
Yeah.
All right, Chase, number 23, it's 2023, this championship's yours. Let's show these guys what's up.
Easy, boys, it's not over yet. Big dog still gotta eat.
Whatever you say, big dog.
Seriously? These fools think I'm fried?
They know the deal.
So, do you have a course that, you look at and you're like, that's the one, that's my favorite course?
Me is Parker. Parker's my hometown, and I love Parker. Parker is where I've succeeded a lot at Parker. I love Parker, and it's, we'll go there, a couple times a year, and we'll go with our little group and we'll go run the Parker course and run our UTVs and just ride around, have fun. And I don't know, it's just something about Parker that the different types of terrain, the rough stuff, the sand wash, and I really like the sand washes. Those are the best part. But sand wash, high speed graded road, big whoop stuff, the goat trail. There's just so many different variables a race course that it just makes it fun, and it's fast. It's it's a sprint the whole entire 3 laps, and it's 150 miles a lap, and it's a long race, but it's a sprint the whole entire time. And I like those races that are longer, but they're a sprint. And you have to run and stay up front to be up front. So that's one of my favorite is Parker, hands down.
That makes sense. I mean, that's a very interesting race course to me because it is fast, but it has these kind of, I'd almost call them like technical surprises, right?
Yeah.
Because you're going full clip, and then boom, you're in this technical section that you have to really like pick your way through, like you were saying, like the rocks, right?
Yeah.
The rock sections there are like no joke.
Yeah.
If you want to wreck your truck,
the goat trail is the place to do it.
Yeah, go charge into that and see how it goes.
Right.
It's not going to go well, right?
No.
So that discipline of like, hauling the mail and then, on the binders and like, okay, now we're going to drive 30 miles an hour through this section.
Right.
That's what's interesting to me about Parker, and it's got some pretty big curveballs at it.
It changes a lot.
Yeah.
Super slow speed, super high speed, mid speed. You just got your variables of everything. So that's what's fun about it. I like that course.
Yeah, absolutely. So this race, you're splitting duties. The rest of the year, are you driving on your own, splitting duties, or what's your?
So we're kind of back and forth with different things. We have Brenthal kind of going through different trucks and buying and selling and kind of going through some different things. But For the main thing, how it's been is Kyle's in the all-wheel drive, and they wanted me in the two-wheel drive trophy. And then at the beginning of the year, they're like, well, we want both of you guys in spec trucks, and then Kyle in the two-wheel drive. So they've kind of been staggering us between different trucks.
Sure.
So it's kind of been a mix of different things, which I like because it gets me experience in the spec truck. It gets me experience in an all-wheel drive. It gets me experience in a two-wheel drive. So I have all these different drive times that I can have and get used to and learn this stuff. And I'm like, the more I can drive and the more things I can drive, the better of a driver I can become, because I can always learn. I can always be better. You're not just, hey, I'm good, I'm here, I'm done. And I'm like, no, there's always room for improvement. So the more I can do and drive, the better I can become.
Now, the Brenthals, too, are also known for, doing quite a bit of testing in Johnson Valley.
Right.
Have you been doing, some testing with them out
I
there?
did minimal amount of testing, but my testing really is out on the racetrack. I'll do simple tests, function tests, but not a whole lot. And they usually will go out and they'll rent the truck out, so people will kind of go drive and test, and then the brothers will go out and take them out and make sure everything's good. But for the most part, our test is when we qualify. That's our qualified. Me and Kyle call it the qualify test. And so we go out there and everything works good. The prep on the truck, Jeff and the mechanics there, they do an awesome job prepping the truck, and really little to no failures on trucks that I've raced or a lot of other people have raced in the Brenthal truck. They really got their program down. They know what they're doing, and they're doing something right. So, if we go out there and we have the confidence when we get there, truck's prepped right, all we got to do is qualify, be up front, and go win the race. And 8 times out of 10, it works for us, and we've been doing great with that.
That's cool. You also have Chuck Dempsey on that team,
Yeah.
who's got a shit ton of knowledge.
Right.
Has he been helpful for you in your program?
Definitely. I've sat with him a lot and talked with him on driving styles. And coming from a buggy to a truck, it's just everything changes. And he understands that, and he's just got so much time and knowledge in a truck that I need that help. So I'm like, okay, so what am I doing? And have him ride with me and see what I'm doing and have him correct on what I'm doing. And I've listened to a lot of what he has said, and it's just helped me be a better driver. And I love Chuck. He's got an awesome personality. Me and him joke all the time with each other. He's just a super humble guy. Cares to want to help other people that don't know anything about the sport to the most experienced drivers of the sport. Doesn't matter what scale you're in to Chuck. You're all the same. You're treated all the same. And he cares and he wants to help. And he spends the time to do it. And he has been a huge asset to my career for sure.
Yeah, it's really cool, to see somebody like him, impart his knowledge, not just on young people like yourself that are definitely worthy of it,
right?
But also, all the drivers that Brenthal brings in, like they're through their rental program and, and selling vehicles and so on. It's like CJ Fasten just came in, and he talked to me quite a bit about how good it felt to be kind of guided and welcomed in and shown the ropes, and
right.
And it's funny because he was.
He's the guy that does the YouTube stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. He races dirt track, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So it's funny because I made a joke to him. I said, you might as well put up your dirt track stuff for sale now, because once you do this,
you're locked
done,
in. Yeah.
Right.
Literally after the first race, he did it, and he was like, "Yeah, I want a truck. I'm locked in. This is what I want to do." And I'm like, "Yeah, you already got the disease going." So
yeah,
you're stuck.
He calls me. He's like, "Hey, just so you know, I'm selling all my stuff, and I'm going to do more races and blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Dude, I told you." It's like once you get into this, it's hard to. It's hard to deny it and not think about it all the time. And, even compared to other forms of racing, I've had a lot of people from different disciplines come in, and they're like, look, I race NASCAR because I get paid, but if I could do this full time and, and not have to pay, I'd be doing it. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So for the rest of the year, you're going to be racing predominantly in 6100?
Yeah, 6100 and the two-wheel drive trophy truck is kind of my split on what I'm doing. So mostly they want me in the trophy to get me more seat time in that and push that more. And then in the spec truck, whatever races that we're having, to say, hey, if we have 2 trucks, we'll put you and Kyle in a truck, or we'll put Kyle in this and you in that. So kind of the mix between, but mainly they're wanting me in the two-wheel drive trophy.
Nice. That's cool. I mean, that's a very quick evolution.
Yeah.
But clearly, they're seeing how comfortable you are in the 6100, and they're going, okay, he's good. We can put him in a 2-wheel drive trophy truck and he can handle it. I mean, part of it too, and the thing I compliment you about is not just your humility, but like it's ego, right? And it's like ego is your worst enemy in this sport because
100%.
There's a whatever 900 horsepower engine that will bite you in the ass if you don't respect it.
Way quicker than what you think.
Yeah. So like just having the discipline to be controlled, right?
Yeah.
Like that's not something that really, typically you see in people your age. You know, I remember when I was your age and I was totally out of control, right?
Yeah.
If you would have given me the opportunity to race a trophy truck at how old are you now?
22.
Yeah, at 22.
Yeah,
it would have been a mess.
Yeah, just go everywhere with it.
It would have been like, hey, the finish line was over here, kid. Like I'd have probably kept going at full clip. But that's the thing I give you a lot of respect for. I mean, we spent some time together doing the Road to the Mint piece for BF Goodrich, and it was fun. It was fun for me to learn more about who you are and your how you came up through the ladder system and the dues you paid. So I love seeing it, man.
Yeah. And it's good being a part of the industry and working on the stuff and understanding the equipment, knowing, hey, even with our program, we're like, we don't have the funds to be able to go out and it's either win or crash. We don't ever have that mindset because it's like, if you wad this thing up, we're out potentially for the rest of the year because we don't have the resources and the funds to be able to fix this stuff.
It's not a pile of $500,000 sitting there.
So you got to treat it right. You got to make it last, and you can't mess this up. So having that mindset in my mind and doing that everywhere I go, it helps me, and it makes people realize, hey, he's saving equipment. He's not going out and thrashing it. No matter if it's a trophy truck, class 1, whatever it is, he's saving equipment and he is finishing every race. And that's more important to me than just going out and trying to set the coolest video ever and being all crazy, big route. I want to be smooth. I want to win. I want to finish and be up front every single race. And like I said, having that mindset in the business that me and my dad do, and him coaching me and saying, hey, this is how to treat equipment, and seeing, even getting in depth and seeing inside transaxles and what things do in there, how it works and how it engages in the gear, and what happens when you miss shift in a gear and you go to pull into the next gear and you're not quick enough and it grinds everything, and everything that goes on in that stuff. You think of that when you're driving and you're like, hey, this is how I should do it so that I can save this equipment and not have those problems happen.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So when you're going through that moment, are you visualizing what's going on?
100%.
Yeah,
what we do, and watching him at the trans bench and him showing me that, you put that into perspective in what you're doing when you're driving, and you can just tell, hey, that's something I shouldn't do, and I'm doing it right. And you can just visualize that, and you're like, I shouldn't do that, and it's just too much. But you can really understand it once you're there and you're a part of it, and you watch this stuff and you're seeing what it's doing. You're like, okay, well, now I know what I have to do to make this stuff last and save equipment so that we're not destroying everything. So that has luckily saved me and finishing races, winning races, and everybody wanting to come to us and say, hey, what are you doing? And I'm like, this is what I'm doing, and keep that mindset in there. And if you go this much slower, you're that much faster. And that's what me and my dad say all the time. So using
smooth
those
is fast.
Yeah, 100%.
Smooth is definitely
carrying that
fast.
stuff into what I'm doing, it helps me out for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm such a visual person. And it's like, as I've learned about the mechanics of different vehicles, like, I'm super fascinated by it, and I almost need to see it so that I can visualize it. So then when something's going wrong with the car, I'm like, okay, I just glazed the clutch, or I just, whatever it is, right? I just, destroyed the transmission because I shifted poorly,
Right.
In whatever situation.
Right.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I mean, in all of this, like, what do you think is your favorite thing about off-road racing?
Man, the list goes on and on and on, but I really, what makes it so fun is the community, and not only what I get to do, what I get to drive and all that, but really the warming people that are involved in the sport that not only care for themselves, but care for everybody else too. And if something goes wrong, hey, we're there for you. We care for you. We want you to be out there. What do you guys need? Like, you just don't see that in a lot of different sports. And there are sports and a lot of stuff that have that, but here everybody's, you have your group of odd individuals, but for the most part, 8, 9 times out of 10, you just don't see that here. And being in the industry and working in it and dealing with customers that do this stuff and race and all this, it's super cool to see the support and the back that you get, not only from your team, but from other people as well. And I think that's what makes it so much fun, is when you're out on the track racing, you're racing hard, you're doing all this stuff, bang and bash and all that. There's a lot of people that would get mad, but for the most part, on how we're doing it and what we do, it's fun and it's racing, and everybody comes at the finish and talks all these great stories. And that's the other thing that makes it the best, is the stories you get out of racing, not only in the States, but in Baja. Baja, I think you get the most amount of stories from just the different things that happen down there and different scenarios and situations. There's a never ending story. You never stop learning about stuff, and it just, all the way around, it's just such a cool sport. And, getting in the truck, getting strapped in and going out on the race course, and how everything drives and feels, and how fast everything is. And I don't know, it's a thing almost hard to explain, but when you experience it, you're just like, man, it's just like no other, and now the technology and the stuff, how things work now, and the different types of terrain, and just being amazed that this type of machines can last through that kind of stuff is just mind blowing. So really it's a lot of the nature of the sport and the people around the sport that really keep me glued into this stuff and keep me head over heels for this stuff.
Yeah, it's really cool. Speaking of Baja, like, when did you start racing in Baja?
So Baja last year was my first year ever doing Baja.
So brand new.
Brand new, yeah. My dad's been doing it for a while. He's done a few years in Baja and spent a good amount of time down there and knows really a lot of lay of the land down there. But me, I was virgin to it last year. I had no idea what I was getting into, what the terrain was like. I had no idea because I've never done it before. But I've seen so many videos, and you can't understand till you experience it. And when you experience it, you're like, yeah, this is a whole nother type of off-road racing. It just, everything just changes. Your patience level has to go way up. The amount of stuff that you have to do to make things last, and the driving style changes. You're not so gnarly and have to be the fastest one, all that. It's, you gotta pace yourself. And for the 400, the 500, and 1,000, even San Felipe, granted, it's a run at San Felipe, but it's super rough. It's really hard on equipment, and you have to know how to be smart, pick a pace to run, and be smooth and make no mistakes down there. Even those long races, it's just, you have to have your head on right and be smart and never slip at any moment that you have, and keep that truck on the road. So it's just different.
When you were kind of approaching it, it was like, I imagine, right? They're like, hey, we're doing this, you're doing this, right?
Yeah.
So was it intimidating for you?
Yeah. It's just something that I've never done before, that they're giving me this opportunity to do that we never had in our minds to do with our own program. So to actually have someone say, hey, we want you to run the score stuff with us, I'm like, yeah, that's like the granddaddy of everything is doing the stuff down in Baja. And so experiencing that, doing that, even the pre-running, doing it for a whole week like that, the amount of effort it takes to put in the notes, the time, the effort, the energy, and everything that goes along in pre-running, the amount of knowledge that you have to have down there to go win, it's a lot of work. And that's why I see these guys going down for a couple weeks to a month early and pre-running and doing so many different things to be up in the front and the top. There's a lot of work you have to do to go win Baja.
Yeah. And so what was it like for you going down there? What did that feel like? Were you like Cool. You get over, okay, like you're stressed a little bit. You're like, hey man, I can't mess this up, and there's a lot to learn. But then, do you get in the groove of things, and you're like, do you get to enjoy it at least?
Yeah. You get a groove, you get a pace set, and you kind of see where the field's at, either in front or behind you. And you kind of know, okay, I can push hard here, or hey, I need to back it down here. Just reading the terrain and reading where you're at, just judging that by how you have to set your pace yourself. And sometimes that's hard. That's most of the time that's hard to do. But you figure it out. You pick a pace and you're smooth. But it's enjoyable too, because there's so many. It's not the same thing the whole time, and it's just kind of whatever. It's just everything's changing, and that's to me what makes it fun is the different types of changes you have to do to be smooth and to go out and win.
Do you have a set plan yet for the Peninsula run?
So this year we haven't done any score stuff this year. So they have the brothers and Kyle and those guys doing all the Baja series this year. But we have talked a lot about, not even though I'm not doing it, talking to Kyle and talking to the brothers on strategies and, what should we do? And just going over different scenarios to help them out, even though I'm not doing it, still wanting to help them out to say, hey, give my input and just work with each other and kind of come up with a good game plan so that me or them can go out and succeed in the best way possible.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that shared knowledge, group, because you have the brothers and they've spent a lot of time down there.
Right.
And not just pre-running and racing, but I mean, they go down and volunteer for course reconnaissance and marking and all that stuff. So they know it, and then of course, Kyle, and Kyle hasn't put a ton of time down there, but, obviously he knows it,
right.
So I think that shared knowledge of a team,
it's key.
Yeah. It becomes really, really valuable because a lot of guys are operating really with their own, with their own group, and it's like there's not a lot of guys who really understand not just the race car part of it, but then the logistics part of it.
Yeah, it's huge.
Because that's a big thing. It's a chess match.
Oh yeah,
and especially this year, going up the peninsula, I think is going to be really challenging.
Right, getting all that stuff set and having our guy that used to be with us that still does have Hutch. He does all of our logistics and plans everything, hotels and where we're staying and what's going on, just the whole 9 yards with the race trailer parts. I mean, there is just so much stuff that goes into these things, especially Baja. And the amount of stuff and logistics you have to go down there and do it right, not half-assed, but to do it right. A lot of time, effort, and money as well. So, me being able to be a part of that and know that makes me respect everything else so much more.
Sure.
So
makes you respect the opportunity.
Exactly.
Racing against your dad is something that 90% of the racers in the world will never get.
I've accomplished everything I wanted to do, and now he's just like taking the reins. I want to be remembered for being a huge part of short course, not just racing, keeping it alive, helping it grow. If it comes down to the last weekend and I'm in it, the boys better watch out.
I mean, it's interesting too because, I'm really excited to see, I have no doubt you're going to be successful in Baja, but I also love watching the process, right? Yeah. And it's, it's this thing of like, I always use analogies, so I equate it to jiu-jitsu of like, you're a purple belt right now, right? And there's a few things you still have to do to get your black belt, right?
Yeah.
And that's Baja's one of them. Some of the other big races, in trophy truck are the other ones. But I think it's gonna be really cool to be able to watch your career and watch you build on it because you've got just a tremendous base and clearly your head is in the right place and your ego's in check and. I think it's going to be great. And I think, it's funny because, like, we almost play this game where it's almost like fantasy football, right? Where you're like, oh, man, if they would just take this guy and put him in this car and do this, right?
Yeah.
And so, I always really like when people get the opportunities that they deserve.
Right.
Right? That means a lot to me as the promoter because then I know, okay, they're going to shine. They're going to be able to put on a spectacular performance, and that energy ignites people, right?
Yeah, right.
And I think that's really cool. I'm glad the Brenthal brothers are doing this and supporting you.
Right. Yeah. Without, like I said, without them, none of this would be possible. So it's cool that they're opening their eyes and they're wanting to do these things and support me and my brand and what I'm doing and bring me up to the next level. And you just don't see that. So very cool of them, super awesome of them. This is the moment in life that I'll never forget. I'll always remember and cherish this moment as much as I can. Yeah,
it's pretty cool for your dad to be involved too, and like have you be his son that then is going beyond what he achieved in racing, right?
Yeah.
And being able to go further. That's a pretty cool thing to watch as well.
And he's there for everything that I do, and he's everywhere, and he wants to be a part and know what's going on. And me and him work really good together on what's going on, and I'm really good with explaining it to him. And then I have comprehension issues when I struggle in school, so I tend to try and go with him because he knows how I works, how I roll, what's going on with me. So I'll say, hey, this is what's going on, this is whatever, and some people might not understand my terminology, but I'll go to him and he'll be like, okay, this is what's going on. And then he'll explain that stuff to them, and he'll be like, okay, well, that makes sense. But me learning that, him working with me, helping me out how to explain these things, and us working together, we just work really, really well together, and we can really make a lot of things happen and come up with so many different great ideas with each other. And that's why we're at where we're at now, and that's why we're winning, is because we're taking the time and the effort to make this stuff and the truck and the buggy or whatever we do 110% and nothing less than that. And putting all that effort in and supporting that is where it brings you to the top there.
Yeah. No, you talk about comprehension issues. I think we all have those.
Yeah. I'm pretty bad.
You'd be surprised though. Like some of the highest level athletes, businessmen, celebrities, on and on, all have similar issues. Like, I'm dyslexic, and as a kid, they were like, "Oh, Matt's not that smart, right?" But I would have to do things over and over to learn them, right?
Yep.
And then, fortunately, my brother's like a genius, right?
Yeah.
So I could always turn to him and go, like, explain this to me again, right? But once I do get it, then I really understand it, and even more so than kind of the average person, because it's almost like through repetition or through, having to like, be humble a little bit and say, yeah, I don't understand this. Please explain it to me again. You get a better understanding of it, right?
And not just saying, no matter how much knowledge you have, how much you know, and instead of the, I know it, and, explaining that to me, I've already heard that and done that. I'm like, there's always room for improvement, and there's always someone out there who knows more than what you do.
100%.
And to take all that knowledge and and use that and expose it everywhere else, you have to do that to be successful. And that's what I've learned and what I've been doing, and it's helped me out a lot. And really understanding that and being that way just carries you to a whole nother level than being stuck up and all that stuff. So having an open mind is key.
I think the competition of off-road racing is the truth, right? So if you're one of these people who like, I got it, and you don't really have it, you just don't want to be.
You're always stuck here.
Yeah, you don't want to be embarrassed, or you don't want to seem unintelligent, or whatever the situation is. That'll come out in your race, right? It's like, if you don't got it, you don't understand it, or you're not good at one part of of racing, you better ask for help, because when you go out on the race course, it's going to get exposed,
right?
And I think I think a lot of people don't want to ask for help, right? And then they pay for it out on the race course. They're broken. They're making mistakes. They're not asking why.
Right.
That's like you said, that's a really cool thing about this culture is like there are people that want to help you that are going to race against you.
Right.
And they'll help you become a better competitor, even though you're racing against them. I've seen it time and time again, and it's really cool.
Yep.
So, kind of a random question, but like, if there was a racer, either past or present, that you could race heads up, same vehicle, who would that be?
You know, that's a tough one. There's a lot of them out there. It would be cool. You know, I've looked up to Rob Mack and those guys for a long time, and never really getting to race with those guys and seeing the results that they've done and how good they've done throughout all their years to even now. I think that's one of the guys I would love to compete with, is a guy like that who understands, who's, I think, got a lot of the same mindset I do. And, you know, that's been my guy throughout my whole sport, is paying attention to what he does. You know, whatever Rob Mack does, this is what you have to do. And it's treated me well. And, you know, he's kind of one of the guys that, you know, let's race it out and let's duke it out. Let's go have some fun. So he'd be one of the guys. Even me being with Caden, I'm good friends with Caden, and we get along with each other. He drives for Brent Fox and splits up with him too. So we all get along really good, and we all talk and have fun with each other, and we all have a good relationship. So, but I think that'd be one of the guys that I'd like to rival with one of these days.
You know, he is the GOAT.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I agree that, you know, that would be a great guy to go heads up against. So do you get to ask him questions?
I've talked to him a little bit, not a whole length amount, but a good amount to, you know, just hearing his advice on, you know, when we're sitting at the finish line and, you know, about, you know, you coming through this turn and you know, Brent coming through this turn, just different scenarios on how he explains it, and listening to that, it's like, yeah, I didn't think of that. You know, you learn so much stuff from those kind of people who have so much more experience than I do, or a lot of other people do. And taking that in and knowing that, it's cool to have him even one-on-one talk to you, that someone you've been looking up from your entire life talk to you about that is pretty cool.
Yeah, you know, he's the guy who'll answer your questions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's one thing, is like, he's so confident in, you know, his experience and his, you know, his driving abilities. It's like he's more than willing to help people and guide them and explain things to them. You know, it's funny. It's like, I've been in jiu-jitsu for years.
Yeah.
You know, over 20 years. And one of the things I love about jiu-jitsu is you get your ass kicked by somebody,
Yeah.
and then you go, hey, show me what you just did,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And then they show it to you. Like, and it's a thing about
And
jiu-jitsu.
you're blown away.
Yeah, well, I'm like, oh man, and that's cool. I didn't think of that. Show that to me again. How did you set me up for that, right? And they literally show you how they just beat you, right?
Yeah.
And doing that, you just expand, your knowledge base expands so quickly. And I think in off-road, you know, and you were I'm jumping back, but going back to, you know, your time in short course, like, that's one of those things too, of like, you know, short course is very unforgiving,
right?
And you can see everything that everybody else is doing, whereas desert racing, it's like
You're on your own.
Yeah, and you have the story at the end of the, you know, at the end of the race, but that's like, you don't
have something to justify on.
Yeah, and you don't.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and you can't story tell 600 miles.
Yeah, right.
Mile by mile.
Right.
Like, you could talk about the major things that happen.
Right.
But then there's, you know,
16 laps of 20 guys.
Yeah.
All together, banging, bashing, racing, watching what they're doing, you know, inside, outside maneuvers, different things that are going on. And yeah, it's just, you have a whole, you know, story there that you can tell, and, you know, you're worn out, and, you know, your adrenaline rush is crazy. And, you know, but like I said, with that, as you were explaining, you're able to see so much more, and not just what you're doing, but what everybody else is doing. And that helps out huge. And you're able to take that, because like I said, there's so much things that you can do to learn from other people. And then you can visually see that as you're racing. You can't get better than that. And it right in front of your face on the racetrack, right next to you. So it taught me a lot, even with the kids that I was growing up with and racing with. Different things you see and you learn. It's just crazy, but it's super cool to be able to take all that knowledge in and use it and learn how to perfect that and just do so many different things. And then you all come together and you work with each other, you know, what are you doing here? And then watching videos and seeing what you're doing. There's just so many different variables to that.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm excited to watch your career, over the next hopefully 30 plus years, right? It's going to be a long one because you are so young, but hey, congratulations on all your success and good luck with tomorrow.
Yep, thank you. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, brother.